Historical Society. Helen, if you would introduce yourself for the camera, your name, where you live, and your military history. Okay.
Okay, I'm Helen Jean Darling. I live in Odessa, New York. I was joining the Waves in October 1944, and I was sent to Bronx Hunter College for 6-week basic training. We learned how to march.
At Hunter College, that's interesting.
Yeah, we were there.
Okay.
They had to get all the people out of the buildings, and in order to have the Waves, live there and train there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that was a hardship. And there we were measured for our uniforms, and made by the best seamstresses that they could find. All the women that worked in New York and good clothing stores and everything. So I had my Navy suit was made of wool gabardine, and it was the best fitting suit I ever had, because they took every measurement possible.
Really?
So they would really fit. Mm-hmm.
And so you joined in October of '44, and you stayed in the Waves until when?
April 1946.
Okay. You went to Hunter College for your basic training, and then where?
Then they sent us to St. Albans Naval Hospital, which is located near Jamaica on Long Island, New York.
Okay. And you stayed there until you were discharged from the service?
That's right.
Okay. For those who don't know, what does WAVES stand for?
Women's Auxiliary Volunteer Emergency Service.
Okay. And what was your job?
I was trained to be a bedside care person. Like these days you would call them nurses' aides. But we were allowed to give pills and shots, medications, which nurses' aides don't do these days. But in charge of each ward, what we were assigned there would be 2 or 3 Navy nurses, and they were women who already had their RN, nursing degree.
Mm-hmm.
So they were in charge, and we enlisted personnel did the work on the wards in the hospital.
And your rank was what?
Pharmacist mate, 2nd class.
Okay. From my military experience, the term I always heard was hospital corpsman. How did a pharmacist mate and a hospital corpsman work together, or was that not a rank or a title that was used in your era?
It's one and the same thing.
Oh, okay.
The pharmacist mates, and you said hospital corpsman.
Yeah.
See, they trained Navy men to go into the field with Marines,
right,
as the medics. So that's where...
Okay, and that's where my experience comes from. I was in the Marine Corps, and so I'm used to the term hospital, corpsman.
Corpsman.
We always just refer to them as corpsman.
Yeah.
Okay, so were there corpsmen at St. Albans as well?
Yeah, they were training. Some were training there, and of course, then it was getting near the end of the war, so I think a few had left, but not a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You had told me before we began on tape about your background before you went into the Navy. Would you share that for the camera as well, please? You grew up in Ithaca?
I was born in Ithaca. Grew up in Odessa.
I grew up in Odessa, and went to college?
In Ithaca, Cornell.
At Cornell. For a degree in?
A Bachelor of Science in Microbiology.
And did you go directly from college basically to the service?
The summer before October 44, I did work at Arnott in the lab.
Okay. That's the Arnott Ogden Memorial Hospital in Elmira.
In Elmira.
Right. What made you join the service?
Oh, that was a long time ago. I guess I felt patriotic and I wanted to do something in the medical field.
Hmm. An awful lot of people that had the same kind of idea, felt very patriotic and wanted to do their part. Mm-hmm. Did you enjoy your time in the service?
Oh yes, some of the best friends I made in the service.
And still are in touch with some of them today?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's wonderful. That I guess in some way that makes it all worthwhile. the sacrifice, because I'm sure that to one degree or another there was sacrifice on your part.
And a lot of the girls, I don't even know where a lot of them are now.
Mm-hmm. Tell me what a typical day was for you as at St. Albans while you were there.
Well, they got us up early, and we had to have we lived in cubicles, 2 bunks on each side, 4 girls in a cubicle. Then they allowed us to go to breakfast. Then we would just report to the ward that we had been assigned to.
Mm-hmm. And just a general day of patient care?
Yeah, I think I was first assigned to the plastic surgery ward, which was a new field at that time. Mm-hmm. And there were 2 doctors there, Dr. Hammond and Dr. Hardy, and they did plastic surgery on legs, arms, whatever they needed.
Now, were many of the patients men who were wounded in combat and then sent back to St. Albans?
Yeah.
So I would assume that plastic surgery, there were some rather radical injuries and wounds and so on.
Yeah. And Marines were hospitalized in naval hospitals.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It hadn't connected with me. Our talk about corpsmen hadn't made that connection in my brain. But yeah, you're right. And they saw some awful fighting.
Oh yeah.
Must have been some horrific sights or experiences that you went through during that time.
Yeah, there were. We were there when Admiral Nimitz's fleet came into New York Harbor, and they unloaded many guys, and they all had to come to St. Albans to have a final physical exam before they were discharged. So we were pretty swamped, and they brought, I think that trip they brought men who had been on the march to Bataan.
Oh my goodness.
And so we saw some of those people.
Talk a little bit about the hospital itself. During our conversation before we began taping, you had been telling me about the size of the hospital. Fill the people in about how big that place was.
The wooden wards, I think, housed 50 beds, and they were built around a hallway which was octagonal. And to walk around the hallway was a mile in a circle.
So the octagon was kind of the core of the hospital, and then everything radiated out from that.
Out from that, yeah.
And the wards contained 50 beds, and how many wards were there?
Hard for me to remember, but maybe 40 or 50.
Wow. So that was a very, very large hospital. I mean, that would compare with with the largest of hospitals today.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. And with some obviously very seriously wounded and injured individuals. Did you enjoy your stay at St. Albans?
Oh yes, I did. We had a lot of good times on our days off, and usually it was a bunch of us women. We would go to New York and at night go from Jamaica, St. Albans to Jamaica on the bus, and then catch a subway to New York. And we knew the subways by heart. We knew where to go in New York. We could go any place we wanted to. Learning, we'd learn where to get off and everything. And could walk down in Lower Manhattan at night with, no fear of anybody or anything. And,
did you go in uniform or in civilian clothes?
Uniform.
Always in uniform?
Yeah.
That's that would probably be just the opposite today, wouldn't it? People would leave their uniform at the base, but yeah. And you felt comfortable in a woman from Odessa in the big city, and you felt comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But it was a different era than it is now, I guess.
Oh, and we always went together, and then sometimes we got free tickets to shows. I think I saw Oklahoma 4 times.
Wow.
And you went to a certain office to get the tickets, pick up free tickets. With your uniform on, or I don't remember that maybe we had ID cards.
I would suspect that you did, but...
I imagine we did. I wouldn't know where it is now.
In some of the photos that you showed me, there was one of a group of waves, and I believe that there were even some men on board on what they called the beach bus. Did you get to ride the beach bus very often?
Yeah. We were allowed to take patients to the beach, take them on stretchers if they needed, or wheelchairs. And the Atlantic Beach Club which was a fancy beach club on Long Island Shore, South Shore, had leased the whole beach area and the clubhouse to the Navy, to the hospital.
Wow.
For use for all the patients.
That's wonderful.
So we could go and swim there. And that Atlantic Beach Club it was part of what is now Kennedy Airport.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That all got swallowed up in the...
Yeah.
But that would be amazing to think that, something as exclusive as that that they would lease it to the Navy.
Yeah.
But it was a different era. Would you do it again?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Any regrets about it?
Not really, no.
Would you recommend to a young woman just graduating from college as you had that the service might be a good choice, good career choice?
I think I would. Yeah.
What did you do when you returned home? What kind of work did you go into?
Worked back at the lab at Arnott. Got married. Lived in Elmira, and my husband worked on the dike here that was built after the flood of 35, 36.
I'm not sure the history of that. I'm not a native.
Yeah, okay. And then we did move back to Odessa because my husband didn't have work anymore. Then he went to work with a friend of his doing building houses and so forth in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So then we built a house next to my dad's house.
Okay. But the whole time that you worked at the Arnott in the lab?
From there, I went to Schuyler Hospital.
Oh, okay.
And I just worked there part-time.
Okay.
Till my kids were older.
Mm-hmm.
In flood of 72, they moved Schuyler Hospital from the old hospital, which was on the ground level, so to speak, in the valley,
Mm-hmm.
and the new hospital is up on the hill.
Yes.
We had to move up quickly because they had to bring people from Corning over to our hospital because they called it the pavilion, was
Mm-hmm.
flooded.
Okay.
Where the old people lived,
Mhm.
all those people over here. They lived at the hospital and in what is now the New York State Fire Academy in Montour Falls.
Okay.
They lived in there,
Mm-hmm.
which had been a local high school for ages.
Was that what that had been?
Cook Academy,
Okay.
yeah.
I never knew. I've been to the academy a couple of times, but never understood what it was. I figured it had to be some kind of a school that was just converted for the purpose of the fire academy. The experiences that or the training and so on that you had in the service, did it help you in later life after you left the service?
Oh, I think so. It made me more aware of who people are and how you should treat people and what you should expect of people.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective. That is very interesting. I've never heard a veteran take it from that perspective.
Well, you learn to appreciate friends and friendships.
Oh yes.
And so forth.
Yeah, no
And
question.
I met my husband after the war. He had been in the Army in the South Pacific, but he was on one side of the world and I was on the other.
Mm-hmm. Had you known each other before you went into the service?
I knew who he was,
Okay.
yeah, because he only lived about 8 miles away, 10 miles in Mecklenburg, New York.
Okay. Is there anything else about your time in the service that you'd like to add? Any information that I haven't asked you about?
Yes, to get back to the hospital, when we were allowed to take patients to the auditorium. They had a big auditorium there, and they had shows and different things. And one night we were asked to take people down, and I think I was wheeling somebody in a wheelchair, but it was a musical affair, and it was Glenn Miller Orchestra.
Wow.
And it had been, they stopped first, St. Albans was their first stop when they came from overseas, and we didn't know that Glenn Miller was no longer with them.
Oh.
You remember that?
Yeah, that he had died.
Lost.
Yeah, he was lost in a plane crash. But you weren't even aware of that. Huh?
No. I knew that Tex Beneke was leading the band, however. So we did hear the Glenn Miller Orchestra that night.
Any other famous people that you ran into or had anything to do with?
Besides seeing President Roosevelt.
Well, let's talk about President Roosevelt.
Oh, I didn't tell you that we passed in review in the Army.
We had talked about that before we began the interview. That was in our little chat. Yeah, tell about that day. That had to be a highlight for all of you.
Oh, we just were in our platoons, and more than, I would say 9 or 10 platoons. 3 rows, let's see, 9 rows of 12 girls each row. So, yes, we saw him, not closely, but we did know that he was there.
Mm-hmm.
We marched by the car that he was in.
Mm-hmm. Were there only the waves, or were there others as well marching?
As I remember, that was only the waves.
Mm-hmm. And you had a picture of President Truman. Tell a little bit about that.
Well, he was in New York. It couldn't have been VJ Day. Navy Day.
Okay.
And in a parade, and he was in a car, open top car.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw him. And then VJ Day, I was in New York with a bunch of friends. The day that everybody was milling around on Times Square. No cars there, just people walking up and down, and hugging and kissing and yelling and eating ice cream cones and
Got to be a very happy memory.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How long did that kind of celebration go on that day?
All day.
How did you get the news?
I don't know. We just knew that it was VJ Day.
Yeah. I was wondering if, well, let me ask you differently. Were you in New York already and the news came that it was VJ Day, or did you come into New York because it was VJ Day?
Yeah, we went to New York because we knew it was VJ Day.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
They had enough of you that they could release some of you to go in and celebrate.
Because I remember on VE Day, I had to work that day, so I wasn't in New York on that day for celebration.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you got the second one.
Yeah, I got the second one.
And the bigger one, I think, in many ways. Because I can remember VE Day, and while there was celebration, there was the big caution to everyone, VE Day is not the end. We're still at war, and that we can't celebrate too much.
Right.
At least that's my memory of it. You may have a different memory of it.
Had to work on VE Day. That's all I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And
what else would you like to tell us about your time in the service?
let's see. I spent a month or two. They sent me to the Bronx, to where they train merchant marine men, to type medical records. And I had not typed that much in my life. I had to type medical records, make 4 copies. So it was kind of hard if you made a mistake, too.
Oh, yes.
Erased 4 copies. I remember I improved in my typing, but some of the officers gave me a sidelong glance once in a while about my typing.
Isn't it typical of the service? We've got a person with a degree in microbiology, but we've got them typing medical records.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't be an officer in the medical corps because I didn't have any experience. Like the lady that was head of the lab at St. Albans she had done that before. Before she was in the Navy. Yeah.
Okay. But you seem to be quite pleased with the fact that you were enlisted. That doesn't seem to bother you at all?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. Why, of a personal note, why microbiology? What made the young lady from Odessa go to Cornell for a degree in microbiology?
Well, I knew one girl that had done that, and my father wanted me to go to Cornell because my 3 older sisters had not been Cornell graduates. 2 went to Elmira and 1 graduated from Eastman School of Music. So I was the last one left. I had to go to Cornell because my dad had graduated from Cornell. Ah,
okay.
And then in those days, home ec was the thing to go in. Well, I didn't want to be a home ec person or a home ec teacher. And the other side was to go in the ag school and take basic sciences.
Okay.
All the way through. So I did that.
Now, you're one of 4 girls. Fairly unusual for that era to have 4 daughters and all of them college graduates, isn't it?
Well, yeah, from a small town, I suppose. But my dad was the son of a banker. And my grandfather died before he got to live in the big house that they built in town. And so my dad had to take over the bank business, and he did make money until the crash of '29. Then he lost about everything. He still had 2 girls in college, and I don't know how he finally, got them all the way through, but he did. Okay. I think he took out loans on the big house. And I believe he told me it took him till 1952 to pay off the loans.
Oh my God. That's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah. Did any of your sisters go into the service?
No, they were all older.
Okay. Anything more that you want to add?
I can't think of anything at the moment. No.
Because you really do have a fascinating background and a fascinating story. And I've enjoyed doing this interview very much. And like I said, I would like to make sure that there's nothing left that you want to say or that you want to bring up as part of the interview.
I think we all in my class, Cornell class, wrote a history of our moments in the service, and it was put in a book. I've written down certain things before this about what I did.
Good. So it is recorded in more than one place.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Helen, thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for your service, number one. And then thank you very much for your time of coming in to participate in the project. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
I'm going to turn off the camera. If I can find the right button.